From iPhones to e-books, digital devices are changing our way of life. The latest evidence of that may be Borders Group filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The nation's #2 bookstore chain says it plans to close about 200 stores. It's seen a double-digit drop in sales in the past 3 years. Meanwhile, e-book sales have doubled. Forrester Research estimates that Americans spent $1 billion on e-book downloads in 2010. So are books on the way out? Well, joining me for the discussion, Shelly Palmer, Rick Willard, and Pete Dominick. Gentlemen, does this feel like many years after the conversation we had about whether CDs are on their way out because of digital downloads? Is this history repeating itself? Rick?
Yes, it absolutely is, Ali. How are you? E-books are not going away. They're here to stay. The big chains came out and moved the mom-and-pop stores out of neighborhoods, and now they're getting a bit of poetic justice, quite frankly. The e-book, the Nook, the Kindle, is going to be used in schools, it's going to be used at homes, and might even have a resurgence. We might even see a resurgence in mom-and-pop bookstores in specific genres.
Right.
For instance, if you like murder mysteries, Murder Inc. in New York City, for instance, they could expand their operation just a little bit, put a little couch and everything in there and some coffee, and all of a sudden you've got an online and offline community.
Makes it into a little Starbucks for people who want to read things. Okay, Shelly, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's all nice, and it sounds very convenient, and it's a good narrative, but as it turns out, what killed Borders was A, bad business practices and Amazon.com, and specifically consumer control over how they purchase stuff. And it's how you as a consumer are able to purchase now using the devices like your smartphone, like your computer. And actually, what I think is interesting about Borders dying right about now is what it means specifically to other retailers in the very near future. Google goggles and devices like iPhones and smartphones running software like LogoVision, a company I'm involved with, where consumers can just walk into a store, take a picture of something, not the barcode, just take a picture of it, and get all the pricing that you want and instant access to it in other places. That's going to seriously change retail. Borders is the first version of how that's going to impact big retail.
So you're saying it's more than just
what's coming next is crazy.
It's
way more.
Dominick, what do you have to say about this?
Hold on. Well, I mean, these guys are experts on the technology. These guys are experts on business, Rick and Shelly, of course. And listen, I'm not anti-technology. I got 2 phones. I use it all, Ali Velshi, but I'm a traditionalist. I love books. I have a book-lined rooms in my homes. They're important to my kids. I don't really like the e-books. I don't really like reading that way. I like looking through pages. And more important, I like spaces where people who like books gather. Remember that movie, You've Got Mail, with Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks? And Rick was right, poetic justice. Now, there goes Borders. But we settled for these big bookstores, Borders and Barnes & Noble, because you could go there, you could look at the books, you could see the books, and hey, they're a good place to meet people if you're single. I'm just saying, I like that space, I like those books, and I like them next to my nightstand.
Rick, it took me a long time to move on to a Kindle, and it's all I use now, because I too like the book. I like to know where I was in the book, things like that. Number one, any particular gain or loss, other than that sentimental value, any particular gain or loss to the consumer? And 2, are more people going to read as a result of this, or fewer?
More people are going to read, that's for sure. With the adoption of e-books in schools, and California's testing that out now, as well as, I think the entrepreneurship is going to actually get a boon from this. And Shelly, I have to say this, you're right about your analysis of that segment, but you can't, Dominick's right, you can't discount the human factor. There are going to be people who read books, have communities. There are people who like certain kinds of things. Microsocial.
No, Rick, you're absolutely right.
Is that community? Is that community living on the internet now? Is it social media that is that community?
It's living on the internet, but also begging
Ali.
for a physical space. It's begging for a physical space.
Right.
And I think you'll see in all social media, everything is coming both on and offline, and books will be no different. That's why I talk about that shift in how we buy books. A lot won't change, but it will get more niched, just like social media.
You
can't discount the human factor nor the social media factor.
Shelly,
where Pete says that he likes books, physical books. A lot of people do. One of the things you can't stop is the ebook train. That is a trend that's never going to go back the other way. It's just too simple and too easy. But to blame Borders' demise as the death of books, no. Borders' demise is the death of Borders because they just didn't keep up with the technology, and truthfully, they got left behind.
Interesting discussion, guys. You
the
bring
problem
good
now,
ones to it.
Ali Velshi, is books are too long. I only want to read things in 140 characters or less. So ebook or old book, you know, listen,
That's
if I
what
don't
it
have
is.
the time, I just need quick bursts, quick bursts.
Rick, Pete Dominick, Rick Willard, and Shelly Palmer, great to talk to you guys. I'm sure we'll have more of this discussion. Great to see all of you.